I mean, fancy now, but about to get fancier when he is a delegate, ladies and gentlemen, for Virginia. What is it? Virginia delegate.
House of Delegates, yes.
Yes. Hi, future delegate
Hello.
Karl Frisch. Hi, how are you?
Long time no see.
Yeah.
I feel like sexy liberal is the key. Jamie Raskin was on fire on the House floor yesterday. You, of course, are going to win in your Virginia delegate race, and it all is all because of performing at Sexy Liberal DC.
You can't take anything for granted.
This is true.
It's time for the plug. We don't know how long this process. It's a special election, so it's going to be a very short timeline. We've got to hit the ground running. Anybody who can help us, mooksforkarl.com. Every penny is going to get us there, so very much appreciated. Anybody who can help us out.
Fantastic. Thank you you were magical at Sexy Liberal, as you always are. It was fantastic to see you, sir.
You sprinkle the pixie dust all over the place and makes it possible for us to be magical. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You all were hilarious as always, and the mooks were on fire in the audience. So it was a lot of fun.
Jamie Raskin is just magic, isn't he? You can't. He was on fire
I
at Sexy Liberal.
Jokes so bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's his joke to tell.
But he was on fire on the House floor yesterday. Do you see some of that speech? About, I mean, this really is a theocracy we're fighting. And I was joking, Karl, but I'm like, does someone on our side have the blackmail material against Lindsey Graham? Because that is like a political gift. When you were a campaign strategist, you would not have believed, right?
No. I mean, this is a guy who was besties with John McCain, and now he's, sucking up to Trump wherever he can. It makes no sense. And that's why people jump to these conclusions. It makes no sense.
Right. And now it's an even bigger bag of rats. Is Trump now fighting with McConnell? Yeah, he's fighting with McConnell. McConnell's mad at Lindsey Graham, right? Yeah, it's almost like Republicans are in disarray, though you wouldn't hear that, I'm sure, in the media.
You're not allowed to write that story. Keep it down.
Yeah.
They don't want you to tell that story.
Yeah.
I was obviously on panel we talked to Jamie Raskin about all this going on, but even just today's news, Mark Meadows apparently flipping, right? Jeffrey Clark under investigation. Clearly, it's moving to the top. And I know
Jeffrey Clark's story is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, he's being irrational with the bar. It's going to be very odd. End up hearing that. But I think the big news, you're right, is about Meadows. Because if anybody knows everything that happened, it's Meadows.
Yeah. I mean, it smells flippy to me. Does it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that 2 years ago, I wouldn't have known what flippy smelled like. But thanks to this presidency, I am well aware of the scent of flippy.
Yes. Well, and we'll see. I said to Jamie Raskin, I think it's really going to mobilize our base, because I know, as they've said, DOJ has said this is the largest investigation in their history. So, but what do you make of the time frame? Because now they're saying, well, they're not going to do it's too close to the election, but these are some pretty significant developments.
Well, I do think that they're going to try and avoid doing things too close to the election. Remember, because of this election, regardless of what happens. So I think that's likely true. Those subpoenas, was it last week? Could have been this week. It's been a long week. To 40 plus Trump aides was a good indication that they take this very seriously and that they're trying to get as much done before that 60-day mark as they possibly can, which I think just happened, the 60-day mark. So
right.
I think that they are moving full speed ahead. What I'm more interested in, and this is something that Congressman Raskin talked about at Sexy Liberal, is what can get done in the House with the committee before the election. Yeah. Whatever happens in the House, it's going to be close. I'm fairly confident about the Senate. The numbers are moving in the right direction. They're moving in the right direction in the House too, but the House is more of a rigged game because of the way that the maps are drawn. Yeah. So I think we're going to do a lot better than people are expecting, but we need to see what we can get wrapped up in the House with the committee.
Yeah. I love where we are in our world. Stephen Beschloss tweeted, "In what world are we living in when a guy who sells pillows gets his phone seized by the FBI while eating at Hardee's, and we have to wonder if this will help lead to the indictment and prosecution of a man who occupied the White House and the most powerful job on earth?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he had a famous star. I mean, it just seems to go along with
Yes.
the territory.
Right.
You need
And
to
then-
know what the
Or was it or was it breakfast biscuit time?
Then I have to. I know what you mean about Twitter, Travis. I was like, is this an actual thing? But it is. Breaking: the armed Pennsylvania man in a rainbow wig who was trying to restore Trump as president has been arrested at Dairy Queen. So
That's why I sent you the story, so you knew that was actually a real thing.
right, it is.
I can't wait to see the Dairy Queen's tweet.
Right?
So there's a number of fast food establishments that are apparently helping us.
But I want to know what Wendy's is up to.
Right?
Wendy.
Yeah, who are they bringing to justice today?
No.
Let's all do our part. Okay.
Carrot Top for impersonating that girl on the sign.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Duty to Warn says, I'd like to give a big personal thank you to Jeffrey Berman for helping bring the increasingly nauseating Bill Barr rehabilitation tour to an abrupt end. Thank you. Does Bill Barr, should he not be charged with obstruction of justice just based on what is in this Jeffrey Berman book?
I think it certainly needs to be investigated for sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've seen some of his interviews, and they're quite damning. The things that were going on there, talking about trying to balance things out by finding a Democrat to prosecute. Bizarre stuff that has to be investigated. Obviously, we can't just take a book at face value, but the Justice Department has tools of investigation that they can use to see if this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And
you know what I thought
clearly
was,
there are people willing to talk about it.
you know what I thought is so telling, that just, it's part of what Eric Bowler talked to us about every week, and the both sides do it thing in the media, is that reportedly from this book, Carl, they went to the DOJ and said, okay, you arrested two, Republicans. So now you have to even it out before the midterms and do Democrats. Well, the difference is the Republicans were guilty and went to prison. Chris Collins, and who was the other one? Duncan, what's his name from? Anyway, yeah.
Cunningham.
Yes, yes. And so then they try to go after Greg Craig and John Kerry, who are innocent of anything.
And they said, don't do it. There's no case. And what happened? A different state's attorney or U.S. attorney took up the case and lost.
Right.
So they wasted tax dollars. They wasted time. They, hurt justice in the process, all to settle a political vendetta of the Trumps.
Right. I mean, it just could not be clearer, Carl. Both sides do not do it. If you look at numbers of indictment, Obama administration compared to Republican administrations, it's not even close. I mean,
Berman, who's been in the Justice Department for a very long time, said he has never, ever, ever seen such a thing go down.
By the way, I can't wait to talk to our new friend, Michael Cohen, about the part in the book about that. That they wanted him to overturn Cohen's conviction because at that time he was on their side, right? I mean, it's just we've just never heard of such corruption. It makes Nixon look like a piker, right? Is that the right word?
Piker meeting leader at this point.
Yeah. Well, Carl, I'm curious. I know. The problem is, of course, you've got to prove all of this, but Dash Dabrowski tweets more. Trump illegally stole classified nuclear documents and human intel from the White House. During his presidency, an unprecedented uptick of deaths among CIA agents and U.S. spies in foreign territories began occurring. This is not coincidence. This is espionage in plain sight. The problem is going to be, can they ever prove that, right?
Well, they can certainly do the assessment, and this is something that Glenn Kushner's been talking about quite a bit, is how this process rolls out. Right now that we know, and we've known for a while, what documents were taken, they need to try and track down exactly what happened with these documents so that they can actually assess the damage that's been done.
Well, this is why this special master thing is such a
and that's where
idiocy.
The judge comes in, the Trump judge, who's saying, no, you can investigate the damage done, but you can't start the process off in the way that leads you to knowing whether damage has been done.
That's right. Yeah, one last one. Andrew Juncker said the same thing. The fact that CIA agents were killed, captured, or compromised because Trump sold their names to our enemies should be a much bigger story. Well, we don't know that for sure yet, but knowing everything we do know, based on what we saw, while he was in office, right? But I wonder, that's part of what he's trying to stop, is them doing this investigation.
It could even be negligence. Look, you're talking about a guy who used to show things off to people. You're talking about a guy who, for
Russians in the Oval Office, remember? Right. Yeah. Yeah.
These documents were laying around, Mar-a-Lago. Who
Yeah.
knows who had access to them? And that's part of the problem here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, to be continued. Karl, you remain a delight and a future delegate of the great state
Oh,
of
I certainly
Virginia.
hope so. Again, mooksforkarl.com.
Yeah.
Help if you can.
Let's
Yes.
get him over the finish line.
Yes, please.
Yes.
That sexy liberal magic. Continue to sprinkle
right.
it on my friend Karl.
Yay.
All right, love you, Karl. See you next week.
Thanks, Karl.
Ow.